The wind moved softly across the ruined streets of the forgotten outpost as he walked alone through the silence. His boots pressed into dust that had not been disturbed for years, and every step created a small cloud that drifted into the empty air. He did not know why he had come to this place. Maybe it was instinct, or maybe something inside him whispered that the universe was about to change his path. He had traveled far from human space and had seen things that could break a person. Yet, nothing had prepared him for what he was about to find here. The buildings around him stood half-broken, with walls cracked and roofs torn open by old battles. He moved with caution, listening to every sound, because danger always waited in places like this. Then he heard something. A small sound that did not belong to the dead settlement. At first he thought it was just the wind, but it came again. A faint shift of movement. Soft, weak, human dot. He followed the sound past a fallen tower until he reached a collapsed home. Part of the structure still stood while the rest had sunk into the ground. He stopped and listened. There it was again. A breath. A whisper of life. He pushed aside a half-burned door and stepped into the shadows inside. The sight stopped him completely. In the corner of the ruined room sat a young girl. Her knees were pulled against her chest, and her arms were wrapped tightly around them. Beside her lay a woman whose skin had no color left in it. Dust covered her face and her clothes were torn. The woman had been gone for hours, maybe even days. The girl sat beside her without crying, without speaking. Her eyes were wide and blank, as if she had seen too much for someone so young. He took a slow step toward her. She did not move. She only stared at him with a mixture of fear and exhaustion. In her hands she held something glowing, a small crystal shaped like a tear. It pulsed with a soft blue light every few seconds. He had seen technology from many species, but nothing like this. He knelt in front of her. His voice remained gentle. It is all right. I am here to help. For a moment she did not react. Then she tightened her grip on the glowing crystal. Her voice came out small and shaking. Are you one of them? He shook his head. I do not know who you mean. I just found you. She looked toward the broken doorway as if expecting someone to appear at any second. Her shoulders trembled. Her eyes filled with terror. They are coming back. They wanted the crystal. My mother tried to protect me. She could not stop them. They will return for me. His heartbeat grew heavy. Whoever had taken her mother's life was still nearby, and from the way she spoke, he knew they were not ordinary raiders. Something about the crystal made them desperate and dangerous. He glanced at the woman on the floor. She had placed her body in front of the girl, trying to shield her until her last breath. The girl had stayed beside her, even after everything. He felt a deep pain inside him. A familiar ache that came whenever he saw someone hurt by power and cruelty. He looked back at the child. What is your name? She hesitated before whispering. Lyra. He nodded. Lyra, you are safe now. I will take care of you. Before he could say more, a sudden sound burst from outside. A sharp metallic echo. Then another. He recognized the noise instantly. Scanners. Enemy search drones sweeping the area. They were close. The girl flinched and held the crystal to her chest. The blue glow brightened as if reacting to danger. He stepped toward the doorway and peered. Through a crack in the wall, 3 drones floated across the street. Their red sensors flashed as they scanned the ruins. They were not random machines. They were hunting someone. They were hunting her. He turned back to Lyra. We need to leave now. She nodded and reached out her small hand. He lifted her gently, and she clung to him with silent trust. The crystal warmed against his chest as she pressed it close. As he stepped into the street, the drones paused. Their sensors locked onto him. A high-pitched alarm rose into the air. He ran. Lyra buried her face in his shoulder as the drones began to chase them. Energy beams shot past his head, striking the ground and exploding into dust. He pushed forward through the ruins, knowing one thing with absolute certainty. He had not found the girl by accident. Something far greater had brought him here. And whatever hunted her was not going to stop. Asterisk. He did not look back as he sprinted across the shattered street with Lyra held tightly in his arms. The ruins around him echoed with the sharp whine of the drones as they shifted into attack mode. Their red lights flashed rapidly, and each flash meant they were tightening their focus. Dust rose behind him with every step as beams of energy hit the ground inches from his boots. He kept his body low, but his mind raced. Why her? Why the crystal? What had her mother tried so hard to protect? He ducked behind an overturned transport vehicle and listened to the drones glide overhead. Their engines hummed with a cold mechanical rhythm that had no mercy in it. Lyra trembled in his arms. He could feel her fear like a living thing. He placed his hand gently on her back. Stay quiet. I will not let them take you. She looked up at him with wide eyes. They will keep searching. They always do. They do not stop until they find what they want. He nodded slowly. He had seen many hunters in the galaxy, but these drones were built for precision. They belonged to a powerful force, one that did not lose its targets. He peeked over the edge of the transport. The drones moved in a tight formation, scanning every shadow. They were searching for heat signatures. He needed to outsmart them. There was an old shelter nearby. Humans had built it during the first wave of colonization before the wars. He remembered its layout from old maps. If he could get there and seal the doors, the drones would lose his signal long enough for him to plan. The next move, he lifted Lyra again. Hold on to me. Do not let go. She wrapped her arms around his neck and he dashed into the narrow alley behind the transport. The shadows swallowed them. The alley smelled of burnt wires and old smoke. A fallen generator blocked part of the path, but he climbed over it quickly. Behind him, the drones shifted direction. Their sensors detected movement. Their engines grew louder. He pushed harder, ignoring the burn in his legs. The shelter came into view. A large metal door stood cracked open. Vines covered its edges, but the structure still looked strong. He charged inside and kicked the control panel. Sparks flew, and the heavy door slid shut just as the drones reached the entrance. Lyra gasped as darkness filled the shelter. Only the glow of the crystal lit the room with a calm blue shine. He listened as the drones scanned the door. For a moment, he thought they would find a way through. But after a few seconds, the humming faded and their presence drifted away into the distance. He exhaled for the first time since the chase started. We are safe for now. Lyra held the crystal in both hands. The blue light reflected in her eyes. My mother told me never to show it, but when she was hurt, she told me to keep it close. She said it would lead me home. He sat down on a broken supply crate. The shelter felt cold and empty, but at least it was quiet. He studied the crystal. Its surface was smooth with patterns inside that seemed to shift like stars. It pulsed with gentle light, almost alive. Do you know why they want it? Lyra shook her head. My father said it holds our family's memory. Not like normal memory. This one is old, very old. He said it belongs to the first keepers. I did not understand it. I still do not. The first keepers. He had heard the term only once in his life. It belonged to stories of ancient protectors who carried knowledge that could shift entire worlds. If the crystal really held something from that time, then it explained why the enemy wanted it. Lyra's voice broke into his thoughts. My father is still alive. I know he is. They took him away. My mother tried to stop them, but she could not. Please help me find him. He looked at her. She was small, scared, yet a strange strength lived inside her. She had survived what many adults could not. Her mother had died protecting her, and now she carried the final piece of her family's hope. He placed a hand on her shoulder. I will help you. I promise. But inside he wondered if he had just made a promise bigger than anything he had faced before. Because if the enemy wanted this crystal so badly, then he was not only protecting a child, He was standing against something far more dangerous. A deep rumble shook the ground. Dust fell from the ceiling. He stood quickly and listened. Footsteps. Heavy ones, not drones, something bigger. Something alive. Lyra clutched the crystal again. They found us. He moved her behind him and faced the dark hallway ahead. He did not know what was coming. But he knew one thing. He would not run this time. Would fight. The ground continued to shake under his feet as the heavy footsteps approached through the dark hallway. He pulled Lyra gently behind a broken console and motioned for her to stay low. Her breathing grew fast and shaky, but she obeyed without a sound. The blue glow of the crystal faintly lit her face, and he could see the fear in her eyes. He placed a finger to his lips, then rose slowly to face the darkness. A tall shadow emerged first, then another. 2 armored figures stepped into the shelter. Their armor was black and shaped like sharp stone with glowing red symbols running along. The plates, they were not normal soldiers. They were hunters trained for one mission only. Capture the girl. Retrieve the crystal. One of them spoke with a deep mechanical voice that echoed through the shelter. She is here. I can sense the relic. He tightened his grip on a metal rod he had grabbed from the floor. It was not much, but it was the only weapon he had. The hunters scanned the room with red lights that cut through the darkness. He needed to think fast. Lyra could not be caught. If they took her, everything would be lost. The first hunter stepped closer. Its red visor shifted as if smelling. The air. The human protector is nearby. Eliminate him. He lunged forward before the hunter could move another step. He struck the metal rod against the side of the creature's helmet. The impact created a loud crack that echoed through the chamber. The hunter stumbled but did not fall. Instead, its red lights brightened. Target located. The second hunter swung its arm toward him. He dodged and rolled across the floor. A blast of energy scorched the wall where he had stood only a moment earlier. He grabbed a loose pipe and threw it at the nearest control panel. Sparks exploded and the shelter lights flickered to life for the first time in years. The sudden brightness caused the hunters to pause. Their suits reacted poorly to the old human lights. Their visors dimmed for a moment. He used that small window to rush toward Lyra. Run. Now. Lyra clutched the crystal tight and followed him through a side door. The hallway beyond was narrow and filled with rusted pipes. He could hear the hunters recovering behind them. Heavy metal footsteps thundered through the shelter. The chase had begun again. He pushed Lyra ahead of him. Do not stop. No matter what happens, she nodded fiercely. The crystal's glow bounced off the walls as they ran. The deeper they went, the older the shelter became. Dust layered the floors. Broken machines lay forgotten. Faded signs warned of sealed rooms and unstable power systems. He spotted a ladder leading upward. Climb. Quickly. Lyra climbed with surprising speed. Her small hands gripped each rung tightly. He followed just behind her as the hunters entered the hallway below. Their voices were cold and calm. They cannot escape. The relic calls to us. He climbed faster. They reached a maintenance hatch at the top. He forced it open and pulled Lyra through. They emerged into an open space filled with cracked glass windows. Moonlight glowed through the shattered panels, creating long shadows across the room. He closed the hatch and dragged a heavy crate over it. It would not stop the hunters for long. But even a minute might be enough. Lyra ran to one of the large, broken windows. Outside, the landscape stretched endlessly. Ruins, old towers, fallen ships. And beyond that, a wide desert glowing silver under the night sky. She pointed with her free hand. There's a transport station out there. My father told me about it. It can take us closer to my family. He studied the terrain. It was far. And the hunters would not stop. But it was their best chance. We go now. They stepped onto a metal walkway that circled the room. The wind rushed through the broken windows, carrying the smell of dust and old fire. Suddenly, the hatch burst open behind them. The hunters climbed through with glowing red eyes fixed on them. Lyra screamed his name, but he pulled her close. Running, he guided her along the walkway. The structure groaned under their weight. Old metal threatened to break at any moment. The hunters advanced steadily. One raised its arm and fired a blast that hit the wall near Lyra. The explosion shook the walkway and she slipped. He caught her just before she fell off the edge. "I have you. Do not look down." He pulled her up and they continued. Ahead he saw a broken section where the walkway ended. They were trapped unless they jumped to the next platform. The gap was wide, but not impossible. He looked at Lyra. "Hold tight to me." She climbed onto his back and locked her arms around his shoulders. The crystal's glow pressed against his chest. He backed up 2 steps, then ran forward with all the strength he had left. The hunters fired again. Energy beams cut the air. He leapt. For a moment they were suspended in the cold night air. The whole world fell silent. Then they landed hard on the opposite platform. He stumbled but stayed standing. Lyra gasped with relief. Behind them the walkway collapsed, taking one hunter down with it. The other hunter roared in frustration but was unable to cross. He looked at Lyra. "We are not safe yet." "But we are ahead." Lyra nodded. Her fear had shifted into determination. "Let us find my father before they find us again." He took her hand and they disappeared into the night. The night sky stretched wide above them as they crossed the broken field of metal ruins. Sharp pieces of old machines jutted from the ground like the bones of ancient beasts. Each step echoed softly through the empty landscape. He kept Lyra close and scanned the shadows for movement. The hunter that survived the fall would return soon, and now there was no shelter to hide in. Only open land and a universe of danger. Lyra walked beside him with the glowing crystal held tight against her chest. The blue light gave a soft warmth that pushed away the cold wind. She looked up at him with tired eyes. "Why do they want the crystal so much?" He slowed his pace and glanced at the relic. It pulsed gently in rhythm with Lyra's heartbeat. It was not just a memory device. It held something deeper, something powerful. "I think the crystal carries knowledge that belongs to your family. Something your enemies fear and want to control." Lyra looked down at it. "My father said our family was the last of the keepers. He said we protected something older than our world. But he never told me what it was." He nodded. "Your mother died protecting you and this relic. That means its value is greater than we understand." The wind shifted and carried a low rumble across the land. He froze. Lyra stopped beside him. They listened. The rumble came again. Not footsteps, not drones. Something different. A transport engine. Someone else was in the ruins. He grabbed Lyra's hand. "We cannot stay out here. Whoever is coming might not be friendly." They moved quickly between fallen towers and shattered beams of metal. The moonlight broke through the cracks and cast strange patterns across the ground. Lyra stayed silent, but he could feel her fear rising again. Suddenly she spoke in a soft voice. "There is something I did not tell you." He looked at her. "What is it?" She held out the crystal. The light flickered stronger. "The crystal does not just store memory, it chooses who can use it. My mother said it will only open for someone worthy of its trust. Someone who protects life. Someone who carries honor." He stared at the relic. It glowed brighter in his presence, as if recognizing him. It puzzled him deeply. He had never been chosen by anything in his life. He was just a wanderer, a survivor. Someone trying to make right the things he had once failed. Lyra continued. "My father said the crystal can show the truth. Real truth. Even hidden things." He stopped. "Walking truth about what?" She hesitated. "About my family. And about the enemy. Their leaders fear it. The crystal holds the proof of what they did to our people." He understood now. This was bigger than a rescue. Bigger than a girl lost in ruins. This was a war for history. for justice. And the enemy wanted to erase the truth forever. He took a breath. Lyra, do you know where your family is? Now she pointed toward the distant mountains, on the other side. In a hidden valley. They live in a safe place called Mira Hold, but the way is long and dangerous. We need transport, or we will not make it. He looked across the scratched metal landscape. The rumbling sound grew louder. Lights appeared on the horizon, multiple lights, more than one craft. They were coming straight toward them. He grabbed Lyra again. Move. Now they ran through the debris field. The glow from the crystal lit their path. The transport engines behind them grew louder with every step. The air vibrated. Voices echoed. The enemy had arrived. This time with more than hunters. Lyra stumbled. He lifted her quickly and carried her in his arms as he moved deeper into the ruins. Blasts of red light struck the metal beams above them, sending sparks everywhere. He ducked behind an old generator. Lyra looked terrified. They will catch us this time. They have too many soldiers. He shook his head. Not if we know the truth. The crystal might help us. It reacts to danger. Maybe it can do more. She held the relic up. The blue light suddenly expanded into a small sphere around them. The air hummed gently. The sound of enemy shouts faded for a moment. The light shielded them from scanners. Her eyes widened. It is protecting us. It knows we need help. He was amazed. The relic was alive in its own way, linked to her. Linked to something old. Something forgotten. He touched her shoulder. Your mother and father were keepers for a reason. You are one too. This crystal is part of your legacy. Lyra looked at him with a new strength in her eyes. And you will help me reach them. I know you will. He smiled faintly. I will. No matter what stands in our way. The sphere of light faded slowly. The enemy voices returned. They had only seconds before the soldiers reached the generator. He stood and picked up Lyra again. We need to reach the transport station. Once we get a craft, we have a chance. Lyra nodded. Then let us run together. He turned toward the mountains and took the first step into the next danger. The truth had been revealed. And now their real journey had begun. The ruins thinned out as they pushed farther toward the mountains. The night air grew colder, and the stars above burned brighter than before. He could feel the weight of the journey settling on his body, but he kept moving. Lyra walked close to him and held the glowing crystal in both hands. Its soft blue light warmed the space around them and gave them a strange sense of comfort through all the fear. They reached the edge of the metal desert and stepped onto hard soil for the first time since their escape. Lyra looked up at him. How far is the transport station? Now he pointed to a line of broken towers in the distance. Beyond those towers. We will reach it by sunrise if we keep moving. Lyra nodded. Her face showed exhaustion, but her eyes carried a stubborn fire. She had lost her mother. Her father was somewhere in captivity. Yet she kept walking. He admired her courage more than she knew. They continued through the wasteland. The wind carried small particles of sand that stung their skin. Strange glowing insects drifted across the ground and vanished into cracks like tiny ghosts. Lyra watched them quietly. Were you always alone before you found me? He hesitated before answering. Not always. But long enough. She studied his face as if trying to understand the shadows that lived in his past. Do you regret helping me? He stopped walking and faced her. Never. I made my choice. I will protect you until we reach your family. She smiled for the first time since he met her. The crystal brightened slightly, as if responding to her emotion. For a moment, the world felt softer. But the softness ended fast. A loud whistle cut through the air. He pushed Lyra down just as an energy bolt flew above them and exploded against a rock. Heat washed over their backs. He pulled her up and they ran behind a cluster of jagged stones. Voices echoed across the land. Sharp, cruel. They belonged to mercenary hunters. Not the same armored ones from before. These were independent trackers drawn by promises of reward. Lyra trembled. They heard the bounty. That means the enemy knows we survived. He tightened his fist. They always bring more when they fail. But they will not take us. The mercenaries climbed over the rocks with weapons raised. He counted 4 of them. One carried a long rifle. Another wore goggles that glowed yellow. The others had shock blades ready to strike. One shouted, "Hand over the girl and the relic, and we might let you walk away." He stepped in front of Lyra. "You picked the wrong human to threaten." The mercenary laughed. "We heard stories about you. The wanderer who fights alone, the one who never gives up. But even legends bleed. They moved in at once." He grabbed a broken metal rod from the ground and charged forward. The merc with the rifle fired, but he dodged left and swung the rod into the man's chest. The impact knocked him into the dirt. The other 2 attacked. He blocked a blade strike and kicked the attacker backward. The last merc slashed his arm, and pain shot through him. Blood dripped down, but he kept fighting. Lyra watched in horror. "Stop. You will get hurt," he shouted back. "Keep the crystal safe. Do not step into the fight." The mercs pressed in again. He ducked under a knife strike and punched the attacker in the jaw. Another bolt from the rifle hit a rock near his feet. Dust exploded around him. The world blurred for a second. Then something unexpected happened. The crystal flashed bright like a star. A wave of blue light burst outward and washed across the battlefield. The mercenaries staggered and covered their eyes. Their weapons malfunctioned and sparked violently. Lyra held the crystal high. "It knows we are in danger. It is helping you." He wasted no time. He struck one merc down. Another dropped his weapon and ran. The last man tried to retreat, but tripped over a stone and fell. He lifted the metal rod again, but Lyra grabbed his arm. "No more. They cannot fight now. We should move." He lowered the rod. She was right. More enemies would come. Fighting here was pointless. They needed distance, protection, a way forward. He took her hand. "Come. The station is close. Every moment counts." They left the wounded mercenaries behind and pushed onward. The sky began to lighten with early dawn. A soft orange glow spread across the horizon. As they walked, Lyra looked at him again. "You risked everything for me." Why, he slowed his pace and breath deeply. "Because I failed someone once. Someone I cared about. I swore I would never let it happen again." Lyra nodded. She held the crystal close. "Then we stand together, you and me. Until we reach Mara Hold." He felt something shift inside him. A turning point. He had started this journey as a wanderer with no home, no purpose. But now he had found something worth fighting for. Not just the girl, not just the relic. Hope. Ahead, the shadow of the transport station appeared. Against the rising sun. Their next step was waiting. Asterisk. The transport station rose from the dusty ground like a broken monument from a forgotten age. Sharp metal beams reached toward the sky, and shattered glass covered the platform floor. Dawnlight painted everything gold and created long shadows. Across the ruins, he and Lyra stood at the edge of the platform, breathing hard from the long journey. The early sun warmed their backs, but danger still pressed in from all sides. Lyra looked around nervously. Is there still a working transport? Here he scanned the broken machines until his eyes found a smaller craft hidden beneath a collapsed roof. It was damaged but not beyond repair. He hurried to it and brushed dust off the controls. "We can make this fly. It will take us to the mountains." Lyra's crystal glowed brighter as she stepped closer to the craft. The blue light washed over the metal, and for a moment he thought he heard the craft respond with a faint hum, as if the relic itself was calling it awake. Before he could inspect further, a deep roar ripped across the land. The ground trembled, the wind shifted. Lyra grabbed his arm. "They found us again." He turned toward the horizon. A large enemy carrier ship descended from the clouds. Its black hull reflected the sun like a giant shadow swallowing the sky. Red lights flickered along its sides. It was bigger than anything they had faced so far. Far more dangerous. He pushed Lyra behind the craft. Stay low. Do not move unless I tell you. The carrier hovered above the station and released several armored soldiers. They dropped from the ship like falling stones and landed with loud thuds that shook the ground. Each soldier wore the same dark armor as the earlier hunters, but heavier, stronger, more lethal. One stepped forward. Its voice echoed through a helmet with a glowing red visor. Return the relic. Return the girl. This is the final command. He stepped in front of Lyra. You will not touch her. The soldier raised a weapon that looked like a twisted spear made of pure energy. You stand against a force that has crushed worlds. Step aside or fall. He tightened his grip on the metal rod he still carried. It was bent, burned, nearly useless. But he held it anyway, not as a weapon. As a promise, Lyra stayed behind him and whispered, "The crystal can sense danger. Maybe it can help you again." He wished he believed that would be enough. But this enemy was stronger. The crystal's light alone might not save them this time. They needed something more. Something human. Something fierce. The soldiers spread out, forming a wide arc around them. The carrier's engines roared above, filling the air with pressure. Lyra pressed her small hand to his back. "I trust you. My family will trust you too." Her words sparked something inside him. A fire he thought had died long ago. He lifted the metal rod and stepped forward. The first soldier attacked. A powerful swing of energy sliced the ground where he had stood 1 second earlier. He rolled to the side and hit the soldier's arm with his rod. The hit made the armor spark, but it did little damage. The soldier struck back and knocked him across the platform. Pain shot through his ribs as he hit the ground. Lyra screamed his name. He lifted himself slowly. The soldier approached with the spear raised. The sun reflected off the weapon like a signal of death. He forced himself back to his feet. Not yet. Not while she is here. Not while hope still breathes. Lyra raised the crystal high. The blue glow expanded again, but this time it flickered weakly. The enemy soldiers laughed. The relic is draining. It has limits. The child cannot control it. He had only moments to decide. Fight and fall, or protect Lyra with everything he had left. He pushed forward again. His muscles burned. His wounds throbbed. But he moved with purpose. He dodged another strike and slammed the rod into the joints of the soldier's armor. The soldier staggered. For a moment, small cracks appeared in the plates. Now he knew where to strike. He attacked with everything he had. Each hit landed harder than the last. The soldier stumbled backward. The other soldiers watched in surprise. Humans were not meant to resist them. Humans were meant to break. Lyra shouted, "You can win. The crystal believes in you." The relic flared with a sudden burst of blue light. The light surged across the platform and washed over him. His strength returned. His vision sharpened. His movements grew faster. The lead soldier tried to retreat, but he struck again. The armor split. The soldier fell with a heavy crash. The other soldiers stepped back. For the first time they looked uncertain. The carrier ship lowered as if preparing to crush them with its full force. He pulled Lyra close. "We move now. Get into the craft." Lyra ran to the transport and climbed inside. He followed and slammed the hatch shut. The enemy fired blast after blast at the craft, but the crystal's glow reacted again and created a faint shield around the hull. He powered the engines. Sparks shot out. The craft shook violently. He hit the ignition again. This time the engines roared to life. Lyra held the crystal tight. "Take us to my family. Take us to Mira Hold." The craft lifted into the air. Enemy soldiers fired, but the blue light shielded them long enough for the craft to escape. The carrier ship rose to chase them. He pushed the engine to its limit. As they shot toward the mountains, the final battle was not over. It was only waiting for them at Mira Hold. The small transport shot across the sky, leaving thick trails of smoke behind it as the mountains rose taller and darker ahead. The engines coughed and shook, but they held together. He kept one hand tight on the controls while the other held the panel steady so it would not fall apart during flight. Lyra sat beside him with the glowing crystal pressed close to her chest. The blue light pulsed faster and brighter as they neared the mountain range. It was guiding them, calling them, leading them home. Lyra pointed toward a deep valley carved into the mountains. There. Mira Hold is down there. My family should be waiting. He angled the transport downward. The craft rattled as it descended into the valley. Tall cliffs surrounded them, and sunlight barely reached the ground. For a moment the valley seemed empty, silent, abandoned. Lyra looked scared. Where are they? He scanned the shadows and noticed faint markings on the rock walls. Signs of human hands. Signs of hidden life. He guided the transport to land near a stone archway built into the mountainside. As they stepped out, Lyra held the crystal forward. The blue glow touched the stone arch and traced patterns across its surface. The wall shifted. A large gate slid open with a deep ancient sound. Warm golden light spilled out from inside. Lyra gasped. They are here. They are really here. Figures moved inside the gate. People stepped forward wearing simple clothing made of woven materials. Their eyes widened as they saw Lyra. Then one man pushed through the crowd with tears filling his eyes. He rushed forward and dropped to his knees in front of her. Lyra, my child. You are alive. Lyra ran to him and wrapped her arms around him. Her father held her tightly as if he never wanted to let go again. His voice cracked with emotion. I thought we lost you forever. Your mother tried to protect you. She was brave. She wanted you safe. Lyra cried softly against his chest. She saved me. And he saved me too. Her father looked up at the man who had brought her home. His eyes were full of gratitude and sorrow. Thank you. You did what no one else could. You crossed the ruins. You fought the hunters. You protected my daughter. I owe you everything. He nodded quietly. He felt the weight of exhaustion pulling on him, but seeing Lyra reunited with her father filled him with a warmth he had forgotten long ago. Then the ground trembled. The sky above darkened as a massive shadow covered the valley. The enemy carrier ship descended through the clouds and hovered above Mira Hold. Red lights flared across the hull. Dozens of soldiers lined the edges preparing to drop into the valley. Lyra's father stood quickly. They followed you here. They want the relic. They want to destroy our home. The valley filled with noise as families ran for shelter. He stepped between them and the open sky. No, they will not enter this valley. Not today. Not ever. Lyra ran to him with the crystal glowing like a star in her hands. She pressed it into his palms. The crystal chose you too. My mother said the keeper is not only born. Sometimes the keeper is someone who shows true courage. Someone who protects life even when everything stands against them. He stared at the crystal. Its blue light wrapped around his fingers like warm fire. He felt energy flow through him. Strength, memory, wisdom, voices from the past. The relic was not just knowledge, it was unity. It was the heart of the keeper line. It responded to courage. It responded to hope. The enemy soldiers dropped from the carrier. The ground shook with their landing. Their leader stepped forward and lifted a weapon. Give us the relic or your people fall. He raised the crystal high. Blue light exploded outward, filling the entire valley. The soldiers slowed as if frozen in thick air. The carrier ship flickered as its systems failed. Red lights dimmed and alarms screamed across the hull. Lyra shouted over the rising wind that the relic created. It is showing them the truth. It is making them see what they did to my people. The soldiers staggered as visions filled their minds. Images of ruined cities, families torn apart, innocent lives taken, their own leaders responsible for the destruction. The truth struck them harder than any weapon. Many soldiers dropped their weapons. Some fell to their knees. Others ran back to the carrier in fear. The leader tried to fire his weapon, but it melted in his hands as the relic's light pushed him. Back, the crystal shone brighter until the air felt a live dot, then silence. The carrier turned sharply and fled the valley. The remaining soldiers followed. The shadow lifted from Myra Hold. Sunlight returned. Lyra's father placed a hand on his shoulder. You saved us. You saved the truth. This valley will never forget your courage. Lyra hugged him tightly. You are family now. If you want to stay, he looked at the peaceful valley, the warm light, the people united, the child he had saved, the truth he had protected. For the first time in many years, he felt like he belonged somewhere. He lifted Lyra into his arms. I will stay. The crystal dimmed. Into a gentle light, hope was restored. Humanity had risen again. Phi.